If you were a young fellow, you took a young lady out to dinner, uh, say around 7 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, you'd show up at a movie. The best movies were the Ideal that specialized in the MGM pictures. It was on Avenida Rizal, and there was the Lyric Theater on the Escolta that was the Paramount House. After dinner, you'd go out and dance. Now, you could dance in places of varying respectability. You dance here at the Manila Hotel, the most beautiful dance pavilion ever, with the no walls, just pillars, and looking out on the ocean. Tirso Cruz's band. If you got bored here and you had a real live gal, you'd go out to Santa Ana, or you'd go to the Alcazar, or you'd go to Tom's Dixie Kitchen, which was the dance floor wasn't as big as this room. The whole club wasn't very much bigger than twice this room. There were gambling houses, there were dance halls, there were the Santa Ana Cabaret, right on the edges of Santa Ana, just across the city limits, so that it wasn't subject to the Manila police regulations. Had, I can't tell you how many dime a dance girls, but it was somewhere between 500 and 1,000. And they clocked in at 8 o'clock every evening, and they clocked out at 3 o'clock every morning. And in between time, they got no pay. They got their dinner at midnight. They got a half of everything they got their partners to buy. They got half of the money for the tickets, but they also got, they were trying to persuade the fellows to drink champagne cocktails because that was the expensive drink. The fellow got a champagne cocktail and the girl got a ginger ale. She got 80% on the ginger ale. She got 50% on the champagne cocktail because she talked this thing up and so on. Now, that girl belonged to the house until 3 o'clock in the morning. If you wanted a girl to go out earlier, you had to bail her out. You had to buy her way out of the cabaret. You could end up at Plaza Lunch at 5 o'clock in the morning and have your bowl of beef stew and continue on to your round of golf and never stop. I mean, Manila never shut down completely. It was, for those who wanted it live, it was live. You could go all the way out to Cavite, to Dreamland Cabaret. You could go to La Loma, you could go to Pasay, you could go to Maipajo, you could go to Lerma. Everything was jumping. The royal Spanish families, let's say the Zobels, would raise their kids up to 16 or 17 years old, and then they'd ship them off to Spain, and they'd stay in Spain for their education and got married in Spain and brought back a Spanish girl and lived out the rest of their life in the Philippines. This was the way that the purity of the Spanish strain was maintained, was by every generation back to home base. It's theory, this was the way that American purity was maintained, by sending American kids back to the States and let them come out with American brides. It didn't happen that way very often. And about the time you looked at a girl and said, she's almost ready to date, she was married. The girls were marrying at 16, 17, 18 years old, the American girls. They were very desirable. There was I would guess that the ratio of bachelor American males to single girls was 10 to 1. Every girl was a beauty, automatically. She was here and she was available. So every girl was a princess, every girl was a queen. She had her pick. And the fellows, you were 16 years old and wanted to date, and the girl that was your classmate was dating the vice president of the life insurance company. You ran a lot of male stag activities. You got into a lot of mischief, and you weren't too old before you learned what cabarets were all about and what roadhouses were for. At the same time, you had this American Girl on the Pedestal business. There was a Spanish family with whom I was well acquainted and who had lovely daughters and with whom I'd spend an occasional Sunday. And if I'd say, let's go to the movies, it didn't mean she and I were going to the movies. It meant she and I and a sister and two aunts and a brother would go to the movies, and all of them were making sure that nothing conspiratorial was going on behind their backs. Believe me, I had to like the girl an awful lot to take her through that kind of a drill. And it didn't continue very long. There wasn't anything that said we had a spat. I just didn't want this many ants.